All right, this is show number 135, recorded on February 3rd, 2015. And tonight we just have Tim and I doing an old school podcast where we talk recent events, recent news, and that kind of stuff. We don't have a guest tonight. I'd like to go back to these every once in a while and cover some of the news. Don't do it too often anymore, but we have a few things out there in the news we can talk about. Starting with, Tim, you had an update on one of your items that we recommended in the what is it, the
Christmas special.
The Christmas special, the gift suggestion or whatever. And I have an update too on one of the things you recommended that I bought.
Oh boy! Well, let's see if it's the same thing.
Oh,
I'm talking about the Nix Play Wi-Fi screen. I purchased it, like I said a while ago. I absolutely love the screen. However, last week my daughter was climbing up on the couch. My wife told her, "Be careful, you're going to fall." She fell over, knocked the lamp over, knocked the screen down to the ground, and broke off the mounting arm to it. So I was a little upset. The screen still worked, but it wouldn't stand up anymore. So I looked to see if I could purchase a new mount for it, because it was really just a plastic handle that's screwed into the back. I contacted customer support, and they said, if you need parts, go to this section. I went to it, and it said, explain what happened. And it more or less had in there, like, if your dog ate the remote, let us know. I was like, well, my 2-year-old daughter was climbing, knocked it over, and broke it. A couple of hours later, I got an email back saying that a new one had been shipped to me in the mail already. And it came today. So great customer service. I wasn't expecting it. I broke it. It was no fault of their own, but they replaced it, and it came today, and I attached it already, so it's perfect.
very good. And how do you spell? Oh, I think I just found it.
Nixplay.
Yeah, I couldn't find their website. I couldn't find their website so I can show it. Nixplay.
Yeah, www.nixplay.com straight. One word, Nixplay.
I found it. So let me share
Give them some
website.
love.
Let me share that website. And you had said it's nixplay.com. And I got the 10-inch frame from my mother-in-law who lives in an assisted living home. She's almost 90 now. And it was a perfect gift for her because she doesn't have to do anything. It just sits there. It plays photos, and then I can remotely from here, because she has Wi-Fi there to be connected to, I can from here add and delete photos for her. And I did find, though, that there's one issue. If you delete all the photos and then go, let's say you have an album or playlist, and you delete all the photos in a playlist and add all new ones, the frame will sit in a state waiting to play. It stops playing the playlist and then sits in a state waiting to play. And then when I add more photos to it, it doesn't play. So she had gone a whole week before my wife went back over there again and find the remote, because the remote sits in behind it. Find the remote and then press play, and then it started all over again. So what I want to try next is delete like all but one, or maybe two. Delete all but two, and then add new ones and see if it continues to play. But it's pretty easy. I've told, my wife goes over there at least once a week. And I said, look, if you ever go over and it's not working, if it's whatever's happening, there's one button on the back. You press that button to turn it off, and then you press that button to turn it back on, and then it should go right into the play mode.
I'm very pleased with this frame, and I'm probably going to wind up getting one for my mother-in-law as well.
And I wrote, I don't know where I wrote it at, and here, hey, you know what? Let's try for the first time live in the forums, Nix, Nix
Play. I put it in the show in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, look at that! I did a search on Nix Play and found my article.
Look at that! All right, now I have to look.
So I wrote a little article in our forums about my, what my results from the Nix Play device. And this was before I brought it over to my mother-in-law. Some of it is before I brought it over there. There's also, I did find that there's some things that you can change that require a restart. There's other things that doesn't require a restart.
Well, one thing I just found as I searched it in Google, there's a Nix Play Android app. I'm going to have to check that one out later.
Well, Thanks, Tim, for turning me on to this. This is exactly what I was looking for to give to my mother-in-law so that she has worry-free, you know, doesn't have to do anything but enjoy the photos. I set up a Dropbox folder for families and said, hey, you guys put your photos in here, and then I will go through them because I'm not going to let them just add them directly. And I don't think you can directly from Dropbox. I think you can through email.
No, email is the one that you have to, I know you had to approve it in there. I don't know about the Dropbox.
I think with Dropbox, you have to add it to an album or something like that. So,
which is good. You don't want somebody just dumping something in there that you don't want seen either.
You're right. I don't want to. I got the lower third wrong. I want them to go in there, and then I want to have to approve them and put them in there myself, because what I'm worried about is somebody coming in and some family member, and I can see one of my family members doing this, where they have 17 photos of their kid, all slightly different,
Absolutely.
all out of you know, not in focus and all overexposed. And that's fine if that's the way you want to take your snapshots. But if you want me to put them on the frame, then I'm going to go through them. I'm not going to add all 17. I'm going to add 2.
Right.
Something like that. But so far, no one's added any, so I haven't been able to add them. But I just go through every once in a while, add a few extra, delete a few, so she has something fresh every once in a while. But I think I have almost 100 images in there, so it's a good rotation. If she's not just staring at it all the time, she will see different things over time.
Yeah, I think I have about 250 of mine right now.
Yeah, and you think for her, who is not going to go on Facebook, is not going to, we don't print that many photos. She's not going to go on Google Plus or anything like that, or Instagram. This is really her only way to see these photos.
That's exactly it. And like I talked about, I don't print a heck of a lot anymore. So this really was the best way for me to do this. So I cannot say how much I'm pleased I am, considering this is what I've wanted for a long time.
Yep.
And I'm just reading now, news update. There will be a new, it's going to allow you to upload any size photo, including PNG files.
Very good.
So they just said there's going to be a new service update to your frame.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a rehash or look back on our gift guide or whatever it was that we did for this Christmas. And one of the items that we both ended up buying and still highly recommend. There were other items in that. You can go back and look at them. But Tim, I had a few items in the news that I wanted to talk about. That I don't know if I just shared it with you, so if I hadn't had a chance to look at it. But I think once I start talking about it, you can add your thoughts on there. And Steven, who's out in chat, can add his thoughts through chat if he wants to. All right, first up is everybody's probably seen this logo. I mean, it's hard not to have seen this logo.
Michael Jordan.
Whether you're a sports, into sports or not into sports, that iconic silhouette that is now, trademark almost. Maybe they have trademarked it, which would be interesting. Logo for Nike is Michael Jordan. I think when he was a college player, if I'm not mistaken. Well, there's
no. I think this is when he was probably Chicago. This is because he wouldn't have been able to do it when he was playing for North Carolina. I wouldn't think that would have been against NCAA rules.
Because it says I think it was he did a college age Michael Jordan for Time magazine in 1984.
Oh,
the guy's name is Jacobs Rentmeister or something like that. You know how I am with names. And basically what he did was he went in and had the Michael Jordan, college age Michael Jordan. He was doing several people. I think he was doing for Time magazine, and he went out there and Steven's saying this was Chicago era, but the article says it was college age, Michael Jordan. Anyway, he went out there and photographed Michael Jordan in a pose. That pose you look there it's iconic. We all know that pose, but it was not at all the way a normal basketball player jumps. It was, to get the legs stretching out. It even had the wrong arm that Michael was shooting with. He would shoot with the other arm. So it took them quite a bit quite a bit of practice to get him to do that pose and everything. And now and then along the way, the Nike licensed it from Jacobs. Yes,
Right.
And then they exceeded the license. So you licensed it to do whatever. They paid him, I think, $15,000. And Nike exceeded the license usage on that. And now he's suing them again. Now, one of the things he did is he didn't register it with the trademark office or the copyright office until this past December. Now, the shot was taken in 1984. Nike's been using it for a long time since then. And he is now, right before he filed suit, he went in and registered with the copyright office. So the question here is, what is your thoughts here, Tim? What do you think that?
I don't know. I mean, definitely we're in a litigious society, and if you had a right to this, why are you waiting 20 years later? Really, I just can't get that. That baffles my mind. Or even close to 30 years later. I mean, if this is from '84, yeah, you know what? This is your image, but why'd you wait 30 years for? You can't say you just realized that Nike was using this image.
Yeah, so an article ends basically by saying, is 30 years too long for him to make a legitimate claim? So I guess I feel that you take it, you shoot it. He was, I think, a freelancer for Time, so Time didn't own the copyright. He owned the copyright of that image. And since he owned it and Nike's making money off of it, I'm almost of the thought that, Nike, you're just getting away with something. Just the fact that you got away with it for 30 years doesn't mean that you scrape by. The statute of limitations is when the copyright runs out.
Well, the funny thing is, I remember not too long ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there was something along the same exact lines where somebody had their image used for 30 or 40 years, and they had to pay excess of millions of dollars for the use of that image over those years. So there is precedent out there on this. I can't remember exactly what it was for, but it was something that we all know and use. So it was like a very well-known product, but I cannot seem to remember what it was. I might have to look for that now.
Well, we don't really know. This article is pretty short. You don't really know what he's done in that 30 years. Has he approached Nike? I mean, I doubt it's his every waking moment, a thought, and what he does, forever. But, at some point, maybe he's tried and given up and come back. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear the story, hear his take on why now, after 30 years, have you decided to go after this? Maybe he's reached retirement age and realizes I don't have quite enough, and it's time for me to try and get more. Hey, that doesn't mean that his claim is any less, but that could be his motivator now.
Oh, yeah, you wonder. I can't help but think that's what it is.
It was interesting. If you read through this thing, we'll have the notes in the show. We have the links in the show notes. It was interesting if you read through some of the setup that this guy did in order to take the picture. Because remember back when he was taking it, he wasn't using digital cameras.
Right. Not back then.
And I don't see the whole article here. Huh. I have to find it. But basically, you see in this picture that I have up here, a basketball goal. Well, you might be wondering, well, wait, why do you play basketball on the hill? That's not how it normally is done. Well, that wasn't a basketball court. They didn't do it in a gym. They went outside. He had them mow the grass really low so that there was very little distraction in the grass. He had his aides go and buy a basketball goal and a pole, and they set that up there as fake. They didn't really need Jordan to go and dunk it. And then they got some other college players who were pretty good in their own right. And they did, for a while before Jordan showed up, they did a bunch of practice sets because the photographer wanted to make sure that he had, had all the settings right, had the way that he wanted to shoot it right, did all that for a good while before Jordan showed up. And then when Jordan showed up, they shot for, an hour or so with him before they got the shots that they wanted. And I guess Jordan, even though it took him a little bit of practice to get this style down, because it wasn't his style, to get that style down. It was something that he was into doing too. So,
Right.
a willing participant. Even, no matter if you think that he has a claim or doesn't have the claim, I guess I look at it this way: is Nike has? Oh, I forgot one big twist on this.
Uh-oh.
How can I forget that? There's a big twist that I'm just leaving out, and that is, let me see if I can find exactly where it is. In February of 1985, so the first one was shot in 1984. Nike reshot the Jordan jump.
Right.
So they went out and redid it. This guy Rentmeister went out and he did all the work and set everything up, and was the creative thought behind it. And Nike said, you know what, we'll just go and recreate that exact same thing. And they went out and did that, and that's part of the claim.
We like your idea, but we're going to change it.
Yeah. So that's a question that adds a big twist to if they're not using his actual image, but they're using one that's almost identical. Now, what do you think?
Yeah, that would bother me. That right there is intent.
Yeah.
But now it's from the same same actor, same player. That's the weird point of it.
Well, I don't see where Jordan probably doesn't get involved in the whole licensing
I don't blame
thing.
Jordan on this at all.
Yeah. But what is your thoughts on if you as a creator come up with a creative shot? Now, could somebody else have thought of this? Did somebody else think of this? Maybe, maybe not. But this guy worked to get this shot, came up with this shot, and then Nike says, "Man, very nice. Now I'm just going to go recreate it without and not pay you."
I see that completely as a problem. That's no longer acceptable in my mind.
Yeah. To me, we all look at what other photographers shoot and go, whether you're a newborn photographer, sports photographer, wedding photographer. Steven is out in chat. One of the things he does is real estate photography. You look at what other people do and you learn from that. And sometimes you may copy some techniques or attempt to copy some techniques and some methods and stuff like that. I think in my feeling, those are okay.
I agree, because it's a separate baby.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously cloning an idea of somebody else's, and with the same person, no less.
Mm-hmm.
I think a jury would get their mind swung on that one.
Yeah. And neither one of us are lawyers, so I don't know what the legal thing here is. But if Nike was recreating this image and by whoever, I don't know who they had shoot it and where the license was there. Maybe part of the shooting was they got the license, copyright. If they did that just to not have to pay Rentmeister something, that's pretty shady.
I think ultimately they'll probably settle this one out of court.
Yeah, and yes. I doubt he was looking for millions.
No, you never know. It might be worth millions.
It might be. But if they, it seems like one of those things that you pay for it, you get it out of the way, and it's not that much, not that big of a deal.
Give me $1 for every sneaker sold.
I'm not sure you're going to get that. All right. So next up is something that I talked about a while back, and by all accounts, we should be using it now. By my account, let's say, not all accounts, by my account, we should be using it now. And that is the next version of Lightroom. Where is the next version of Lightroom? I thought for sure we would have had October, November beta.
Right.
And by now had the final version. So I'm going to have to eat a little bit of my words there because we don't even have the beta yet. I don't know what's taking so long, but we do have one small little piece of news. I don't know if you've seen this, Tim, but this is they've come out and basically said the next version of Lightroom will only run on 64-bit operating system.
Yeah, I saw that, and that doesn't surprise me. I mean, you got to think just about every piece of computer hardware out there now being manufactured is probably 64-bit. I can't. I mean, every time you install something, make sure you're selecting whether you have 64-bit or 32. I can't remember the last time I built something with a 32-bit computer anymore. It's got to be 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah. So I don't know from the Mac side. So I don't know how long they've been 64-bit, but I would tell you that for a lot of Windows users, it was Windows 7. It'd be interesting to see like percentages because I don't have that data in front of me. The percentages. I think some used it for Windows XP. I think
Right.
a few more used it for Windows Vista. Those who went to Vista, I didn't even go to Vista. But for me, once you went to Windows 7, there really was no reason anymore to go 32-bit. When Windows XP, there was some driver issues and some things like that where you were living on the edge if you were 64-bit. Now, if you're not 64-bit on Windows 7, you're living in the past.
You're living in the past.
And I'm not even sure if there's a 32-bit of Windows 8.
I want to say there is.
Okay.
I do remember reading something on that when I installed.
Unless you have some very...
Actually, they're definitely... I don't know if there's for 8.1, but if you look at it when you download drivers, it gives you the option for 32-bit Windows 8 and 64-bit. Yeah. But I've been in 64 for the longest time now.
I think unless you have some very special needs with Windows 7 or Windows 8, you should be 64-bit. There's no reason to not be. And what does 64-bit mean for most of us? It means you can have more than 4 gig of RAM in your computer, PC or Mac, it doesn't matter. And if you're not 64-bit, then you can't take advantage of more than 4 gig of RAM. And hopefully, us photographers and who are editing on our computers have more than 4 gig of RAM. Mac, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure the latest versions of those are at least have a 64-bit option. How long they've had that, I don't know. But all that goes to say the next version of Lightroom will require 64-bit.
Right.
And, the program that I use here to stream the show, there's another one we used before this called Wirecast. And they were all talking about the next version of that being 64-bit and all that's going to make it so much faster and it's going to be so much better. On the surface, I don't want to get too technical here, but on the surface, 64-bit doesn't do anything to actually speed it up. It doesn't make it necessarily any faster. It allows it to use more RAM. It can use more than 4 gig if it needs to do that. So, and that could make it faster. If you're hitting the 4 gig limit, and you with your original version of Lightroom 5 or lower, then that could be a problem, and this would make it faster. But 64-bit in and of itself does not make it faster.
No, it doesn't. It just allows for better use of your memory, like you said.
But I'm still holding out for that beta to come out. Come on.
Memory prices are just not low though right now.
They're not. And hopefully you have a 64-bit system. I would recommend the bare minimum RAM on a new system is 16 gig.
That's the one I just built just now. I put 16 in. The one I replaced it with had 32, but I don't think I was really utilizing all 32. Sure as hell not with what I was doing. So I was like, you know what? The cost did not justify me to get 32 anymore.
Depending on what you're doing, 16 is Lightroom is going to be fine unless you're doing a lot of layers, and Photoshop is going to be fine.
That's not me.
I have 32 and I hit that all the time when I'm editing the video, so I could do more. But I think if you're building a new system, then stick with 16. Don't go any lower than 16.
I agree.
Especially on the PC side. I'm not quite as familiar on the Mac side. So anyway, that's that. That is that. Next topic that I had up is Lightroom beta.
I cannot wait for them to actually release that.
Be on the lookout.
I do like the new version.
We need to do a special show whenever it comes out, and just go through all the features in that one. All right. Next I had up was Nikon admitting finally, or I don't know finally, but admitting to the flare issues on the D750. This is a camera that I was looking at. I have I don't know if you can see it behind me. My big head's probably stopping.
No, I see it.
Do you see it? Are you seeing my camera now?
No, I see it from the other camera.
Okay. I don't know. Oh, yes. Wow. I can't believe you can see that one. Anyway, I have the Nikon D700, and I've looked at the D800, the D801 or whatever it is now, and those are nice. Those are 30 gig, 30 megapixel, whatever it is. Those are nice, but the D750 was the one I was really looking at as the replacement for my Nikon D700. But it had a weird flare issue. Have you seen those flare issues?
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures on it. I mean, obviously I'm a Sony shooter right now, so I really didn't. I saw it. I read about it. Didn't care too much. Said, well, it's not my camera, thankfully.
Yeah, so here's an example on this one site, um, taken by Hugo Hernandez. Was one of the first he became aware of it, the D750, an internal reflection problem. So the first thought you have a lot of times is the lens. You know, maybe my lens is messing up. So you know, it's not the lens; it's actually the camera. And one of the most frustrating things when you have a problem like this is getting the manufacturer to admit to the fact that they have a problem, that you know something's wrong with the camera. There's so many. You know, how many times have we heard my camera has back focus or front focus or no focus or whatever else? It's underexposing, it's overexposing, and a lot of those things are user based, not the camera's based. And then you also have the lens that could be coming into play too. You never know. With lens, is the camera? Is it the lens camera combination? Is it the user? You know, what's happening there. So it's nice whenever the manufacturer steps up and admits, hey, look, we found the problem. We have a fix for it, and we'll start fixing these things. So hate to see Nikon have the issue, but love to see Nikon admitting to it and stepping up.
Right, dealing with it and correcting it for people. That's more important. Sometimes that's more important than actually the problem itself. What do they do with it? Just like that, the frame we talked about before. You know, it wasn't their problem, but they fixed something for me. This is more important. This is the customer service. This is what people can come. This is what they get people to come back for and say, you know what? I know if I buy, they're gonna fix if there is a problem. Hopefully there is no problem. Hopefully they've corrected it. But if there is, they've corrected it.
Yeah, and you know, I'm showing some more examples here as I go down this page. I have the links and the show notes again. But, you know, if these guys can recreate the problem, then you would think that, you know, Nikon, who probably has a boatload of these sitting somewhere, can say, hey, let's jump on this and let's recreate it. And once you recreate it, now you have a solution to the problem. Maybe I'll play this in the background as long as it doesn't sound off. Oh, that's not showing us too much there. Anyway, so I'm just glad to have that. I'm going to wait to buy mine until it's fixed and my wife approves it.
That's always the important thing.
Hopefully she's not watching. Yeah, I don't think she's watching. Good. All right. I had another one, which is, where is this? This kind of goes back to the one where we're talking about the guy in a photo and where somebody, you know, Nike has taken his image or a likeness of his image, and they're using that image. And as photographers, a lot of us photographers, not all, but a lot of photographers are very sensitive to the fact of other people using their images, right? You know, I've been trying to get Corey Ann from
right.
Trying to get Corey Ann from photostealers.com to come on the show because she's a I don't want to say vigilante. That's the wrong word. She is what do you call it? Somebody who looks after the industry.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know, but she's somebody who's going after these people who basically, you got people who have setting up websites with other people's images, and I don't want to. I'm not going to mention any particular names, so I can make up whatever I want here. But let's say I'm starting out. I don't have a lot of good work of my own, but I have an idea of where I want to be. I want to be like this really good person. So what I'm going to do is put their photos on my webpage and claim that they're mine. And then, you know, maybe I'll eventually get that good, maybe, you know, whatever. But I can't get clients with my photos, so I'm going to use those photos. Well, Corey Ann does a lot. Corey? I think that's her name. Corey does a lot to fight against those people. She has photostealers.com. She goes out there. She does all that. So, and it's hard to justify that using of other people's photos like that, right? The sad news is, on the flip side of a lot of that, is a lot of people then go and steal the photo editing software. There's a lot of photographers out there who say, look, I can't make a living with Photoshop charging $600 or Adobe charging $600 for Photoshop. How do they expect me to make a living for that? And
right.
you know, they're shooting with a Nikon D4 that was $4,000. But I can't make a living doing that, so I'm going to just go get it. Not quite the same now that you can go and rent it for $10 a month. But that was the saying back then is I can't afford to do that. Same people who would have been arguing about somebody using their photo would have been stealing Photoshop in some cases. Well, there's a company, and it gets even worse. It's one thing when an individual does it. It's a whole different thing when a company does it.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm not familiar with this store. This was a post that Nikki put into our Facebook group. Did you ever see that?
No, I
know
didn't
you're
see
never in the Facebook group.
Rarely. Yes. Sorry. I apologize. I'm in the forums of the jpeg2RAW. No, I'm not there either.
Well,
I have a 2-year-old. I'm busy.
That is true. I keep forgetting you have a 2-year-old. But Forever 21, which from the looks of this shot looks like a clothing store, maybe. Forever 21.
Yeah, Forever 21's. I mean, I assume that's everywhere. They're definitely up here in New York. I've definitely seen them.
Okay. Is that a clothing store?
Yes.
So apparently they were stealing Photoshop. Adobe alleges Forever 21 has illegally obtained 63 copies of various Adobe products, such as Photoshop and Illustrator. They had warned them before, hey, you better, delete these or get a license, and have come back now and they filed suit against them because they still were using it. And I don't know, maybe sometimes companies feel that I don't have to listen. Adobe's not the law. Microsoft's not the law. Get out of here. I don't have to listen to you. But you do when you talk about the license.
Absolutely.
In my job, one of my jobs at my company is as a CIO, we definitely make sure we have license for every piece of software we use, because you never know when Microsoft or somebody else is going to come audit you, and they have the right to come in and audit you, and make sure you have the proper license for all those usages. Here in the United States, I don't know what it's like in other countries. Here in the United States, they can come do that, and if you don't have the right license, you can be fined. You can have all your license revoked. It's serious business. And, why risk for whatever they stole, 63 copies? Yeah, I mean, 63 copies of Photoshop, that probably was a little expensive. But if you needed 63 copies of Photoshop, then you should have bought 63 copies of Photoshop.
You mean you're talking a drop in a bucket for? I mean, that's under $40,000 or somewhere around there, which is really not a heck of a lot for a company. But yeah, I did it at $600. Okay. So I mean, really, it's not a heck of a lot. But the article points out that, and I definitely saw this before, and I don't know if I've seen it in my job, where the company actively encourages employees to turn in employers using unauthorized versions. So was this a disgruntled employee? It said, you know what? I know they're getting a ripped off version of Photoshop and they're just making copies and giving it to others. And now they reported it. And that could very easily be all this is, or all they came from. And now they're going to pay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you think you can get away with it, sooner or later, some employee is going to be disgruntled, is going to quit, and they're going to rat you out if they know that that's an option. So,
absolutely.
And really, if your goal in what you do should not be, can you get away with it? There's tons of things.
We talked about this with early on in our podcast with becoming a photographer and not doing the right things, not paying taxes, or not having insurance, and something's it's not a matter of if, kind of like backups of your photographs. It's not a matter of if that hard drive's going to fail. It's when is it going to fail, or in this case, when are you going to get caught?
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell the topic that I was talking about, but they had that same kind of conversation today with somebody there. Are you asking me what would be discovered, or are you asking me what we should do? Those are two different things.
Yeah, two very different things.
Because, the likelihood of it getting discovered is maybe not that great, but that doesn't mean that that's the right answer.
Absolutely.
I personally do not want to live life with worrying about the fact that I'm going to get caught. And especially, if you're the home user who's using Photoshop and not paying for it, but you're not really making a living off of it, while it's still wrong, I kind of put that in one bucket. If you're someone who's making a living or making money off of the software that you have that you haven't paid for, that's a whole different category. Now you're using somebody else's work. You stole it, and you're using their work to make money for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, enough of that preaching.
Do the right thing.
Switching to what I had as the last subject, and we're going really fast. You got to start talking more, Tim. I'm talking too much, and I'm running low on water.
I didn't bring water down with me, so I feel bad for you.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to jump out here of Photoshop talk for a second. I used to drink. When I say used to, I mean like in November. So it's not
Mountain Dews.
Well, no, I stopped that back when I got cancer. I kind of
Right.
wife made me stop that. But I switched to Diet Coke, and I've been drinking. At work, I was drinking somewhere between, was it 4 and 6 cans of Diet Coke a day, plus Diet Coke for breakfast and Diet Coke for lunch, and then I would have a liter of Diet Coke when I got home. So I don't know. We add that all up, it's a lot of freaking Diet Coke. So December, I switched to drinking. I still have the occasional Diet Coke, but at work, nothing but water. And I'm drinking like 96 ounces of water a day at work. Yeah,
that's a lot. That's good.
I'm drinking a lot of water. And at home, I drink really almost nothing but water. I am more freaking thirsty now. I don't know what it was. I thought the Diet Coke was, because it has sodium in it, I believe. Why now I'm more thirsty than ever. I can't go but a few minutes without needing to drink again. And not to get too much into information here, but it means I have to go. All this drinking makes me go do something else more often too.
Yes.
And I don't understand what's happening here. It's like I'm more thirsty after drinking water. That makes sense?
I can relate to that. My mother-in-law, and she's not listening to this, I'm sure of that. And my wife is probably upset, so she doesn't hear it. She would drink Coke Zeros at least 12 to 15 cans a day. I'm like, wow, that is just crazy. And probably the worst one I remember, they live in Connecticut, I'm here in New York. So my mother-in-law would stay down here every once in a while. And I remember getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. But all of a sudden, as I'm walking, I hear, whoosh. I'm like, it's 3 a.m. What are you doing popping a can of soda? I was thirsty. I was like, really? I was like, I just think of all that soda. And as much as I like soda, and I drink a lot of water now, I don't drink much soda. All that acid just cannot be good for you.
All right, so I'm going to tell you what the turning point for me was. And I was already starting to get there because at home I had the 1 liter thing of Diet Coke. And I started thinking one night, how good can this be, all this dark? And I'll get back on photography stuff here in just a second. How good can all this dark liquid be for me? It just doesn't look that good. But man, it sure tastes good. And so it got me thinking. And then not too long after that, in November, one of the guys who worked for me gave me a giant box of Nerds. Now, I don't know if you know what Nerds candy is.
Yes.
But this was, if you take like a large box of Frosted Flakes, that size of box, it was that size of box of Nerds.
Nerds?
Yes.
Wow.
Massive amount of Nerds. And I thought and I love Nerds. I thought this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And so what I did is I went to the vending machine. I got me a Diet Coke. I put the Diet Coke next to it so you had some scale. So because if I took a picture of it, you think, okay, you did real close. Yeah. You did a close up shot of a box of Nerds. Cool effect. But no, I took the giant box of Nerds, set a Diet Coke next to it. Diet Coke was dwarfed by the box. Took a photo of it and posted it on Facebook. And right after I did that, I started thinking, at my age, that's probably not the best thing to be munching on here for the month of December. That much sweet's going to put me in some kind of diabetic coma. And I got a few comments that said, wow, that's a massive box of Nerds. And then A.D. Wheeler commented, I can't quote it, but he basically said, are you trying to kill yourself? And a few chats going back and forth between two of us. And now inside was not solid Nerds. It was the little boxes of Nerds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I took a few of them out, had a few myself, and I said, you know what? If I don't do something, I will eat this whole box. So I took the box, gave it to one of the other people who worked for me, and said, it's yours. You can have it.
All right. So what's your favorite flavor, though?
I don't, the pink one, I guess.
The pink one? All right. Yeah. It's either that or the grape one. Because my son gets them when he goes out for Halloween. Yeah. And I always sneak a box of 2 of those. It's like, all right, gone.
and to end this with all sorts of irony, The last freaking box of the nerds that I put, because I put the nerds, I put them on my table. The last box of nerds that I ate from that thing, I cracked the tooth.
Oh, tiny. How the hell did you do that?
Well, obviously the tooth must have already had issues, and I cracked the stupid tooth. And it's me trying to get in the last few nerds. But that Diet Coke was the last Diet Coke I've had at work. So,
okay.
Well,
have you lost weight by not drinking soda?
Have not lost any weight. Do not feel any better. The only effect is I feel like I'm thirsty all the freaking time.
Wow.
So maybe I just drank Diet Coke for too long. It's going to take a while for this to take effect.
Could be. But then again, you know, they say when you stop drinking soda, I'm sure, I mean, there's no sugar really in diet soda. So there's no it's not like empty calories like if you're drinking regular Coke.
Yeah.
So maybe that's well, when you were drinking the Mountain Dew. I don't know if you were drinking diet.
I was drinking diet, yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, hey, the water is more healthy, and cold water, I like the taste. So we got a good water thing at work. All right, so now back to the regularly scheduled program. And the last thing I had here was an article written on Petapixel. I don't know if you ever go out to Petapixel.
Yes, once in a while.
They have
about as often as I go to our Facebook group.
So good news for you, Tim. Petapixel. What is one of the other ones like that? You know what? I'll just go over to the forums. Where's the forums? Let me show this so we have it. Go to the forums and go down to photography news. F-stoppers. That's what I was thinking of. F-stoppers and Petapixel, and I thought there was one more. They have an RSS feed of their articles. So you can ingest their articles through an RSS feed. So I have our forums actually ingesting their RSS feeds. Under photography news, you come down in the forums, which is jpeg2RAW.com/forums. You come in down there and go down to photography news. It's like 1,820 posts.
Hot diggity dog.
And there's all the articles from those guys. Anyway, one of those guys, Petapixel, the author, Pavel, I'm never going to say his last name right.
Cornine.
Okay, there you go.
Cornine.
He wrote an article called "The Unspoken Reason Why Wedding Photography is So Expensive." And it's a good read. I'm not going to read the whole thing aloud, but it started off with this person who put a post into Craigslist. And so I'm going to read a little bit of what this person wrote. Why is finding an amazing wedding photographer so difficult? And let's see can I zoom in on this or unzoom? Here we go. Look at that. That's awesome.
You are just wonderful.
Why is finding an awesome wedding photographer so difficult? I am a bride who is getting married this summer and have yet to find a decently priced, exceptional, amazingly talented, fun photographer. So I'm going to stop right there. So what this person is wanting is a cheap, exceptional, amazingly talented photographer. Those words don't usually go together.
No, they don't.
I mean, that's like saying I want to find a cheap, talented, exceptional, amazingly skilled NFL football player or NFL quarterback. I mean, if you're looking for that amazingly talented person, there's a price that comes along with that talent. I'm going to read a little bit more of what she says. Why? Because the word wedding is involved. Photographers think they can change. I think she means charge right. You $3,000 for wedding photos. Oh, because no bride is going to go without, so they are going to pay. Because they have to. Yeah, because they have to. So basically, they're saying, "Hey, she's saying, I don't want to read a whole bunch of this because it's throwing me off. You're charging us that just because you got us trapped. You know we want these photos. You're trapping us, and that is we have no choice, so we have to pay it. what the article is saying is, okay, to defend themselves, a lot of wedding photographers then go in and say, wait, you're forgetting about my travel time, my lens cost, my camera cost, I might have had to rent some gear, the printing of what I got to do,
the time after. It's not just taking the pictures this hour, it's the extra hours afterwards, right?
Right. They're doing all that. And what he's saying is that you shouldn't go down that path. As a wedding photographer, you shouldn't go down the path of saying, here's all the reasons, here's all the cost that goes into me doing this. And that's really, once you can do this, I'm not making that much money. And once you start doing that, he's saying is, all right, now, first off, people may not understand all that. They may, look at all that and you just go blurry-eyed from that and say,
right, or think you're just blowing smoke and trying to hide behind something else, right? People are going to say, yeah, you can put down anything you want in numbers and it's going to look good, but it really doesn't make me feel better in the end.
Right. And exactly. And what he's saying is, also you need to be an accountant to understand all that kind of stuff, which I am, but you,
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. And like you said, Tim, it's just confusing to them. Instead, you just say, you should pay me that much money, or I charge that much money because I am exceptional, because I am amazingly talented, and because that is what my service is worth.
Well, I think the rest of his article really talks a lot about it. And you think about luxury brands, and he talks about, I think it was Chanel in the article, or you think about a Coach pocketbook or a Michael Kors pocketbook or whatever somebody's going to pay, or a car, an Audi like that I drive. Nobody questions the cost of those cars or pocketbooks, which are tremendous costs. It's kind of like, all right, that's the cost of it because it's that. What he kind of relates it back to then is, you think about the wedding day. You're gonna eat the food. You're gonna drink the drinks. It's gonna disappear. You're gonna listen to the music. It's gonna ring in your ear the next day. That's gonna be gone. You're gonna have the hall, but that's gonna be gone the next day. Your limo is gonna be gone. You have your dress, and that you're probably gonna keep. But are you ever gonna wear your dress? What is the one thing after the wedding that you're gonna have that is probably gonna increase in your personal value after that? It's gonna be your photos. And I liked how he wrote the article. It really made a lot of sense, where he talks about my value for you in the future. And yeah, you know what? $3,000 is a lot, but when you consider everything else that a wedding costs, it's really not a heck of a lot. And I think my wife and I were just talking about this last week. How much did we spend for our wedding pictures? And I got married in '97, and it probably cost me over $3,000 back then. So really, it's not that much more than it was back then. Now, granted, I live in New York. I don't know where she was from. I don't know if the article said where she was from. Puget Sound. I don't know where that is, but
the Seattle area, maybe.
Maybe I don't know, because in the article it did talk about Toronto, then somewhere else. So, but yeah, it's not cheap, but and it is true when you put the word wedding in anything, the price does double, at least double. You're going to get a DJ, and suddenly the DJ's cost doubles. Well, I don't know why. I mean,
well, you brought up a good point about the Audi and cars and stuff like that. For a lot of people, I can't go out and make my own car. I don't know what Audi has and cost of that car. If I go and look at an Audi and I look at a Toyota, and maybe I don't know what the price differences there are, but let's just say that there is a good price difference. I look at those two cars and I look, hey, it looks like about the same amount of sheet metal, the same amount of leather, the same amount of rubber. Why is the Audi 20 grand more?
Right.
I don't know. It is. And if I want the Audi, I'm going to need to pay the $20,000 more.
Exactly.
Because I can't make either one of those. I can't go home and make a Toyota. I can't go home and make an Audi. But I wonder if, because we all can take photos, that we discount the value of.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. People the article was written in 2012, or the post by that lady was written in 2012. And yeah, maybe that's what people are thinking.
Back in the day when I was shooting for a company doing soccer photos, And I didn't have to deal with it because I was just a hired gun. I would just go out and shoot and hand my photos off. But I would often, as I dropping stuff off at the booth where they were, had the photos, and parents would come and look at them and then decide which ones they wanted to buy. I'd often hear people walking away, and they'd be saying, "I'm not going to pay $5 for that 5x7." They only paid like 30 cents to get that thing printed.
Right.
And so to those parents, and parents are usually fairly easy because it's a photo of their children, and anything of their children is amazing, no matter what the real quality is. To them, $5 to 30 cents was what it is. And if that's true, if that's what you're judging things on, if that's your only thought, then that is that's a humongous markup. And you would be mad. Why is this person charging me $5 for something that's only worth 30 cents?
Right.
Yeah, maybe charge me 35. And that's what their mindset is. And I think some of that carries over into wedding photography is, dude, I know it probably only cost you $200 to print all those photos, and here you are charging me $3,000. You just made a $2,800 profit.
You're right. That's exactly what it is. People can relate to what the cost is based on what their experience is.
Yep. And I don't know how you ever get people out of that mindset. I don't think you can. And I think part of what I read here, and I didn't even realize, did you read the article before the show?
Yeah, I read it before. I read most of these right before you called me.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's fast. You're fast, Tim. Part of what it's saying here is by trying to argue, and while your cost is not 30 cents, your cost is something else. In that case of the 5x7 I'm talking about, or maybe, and I'm just throwing out their numbers, 5x7, depends on where you get printed, maybe 99 cents or more. But in this case, your cost for that $5 print is not really, that you're selling for $5, not really 30 cents. Maybe you're coming up with arguments that maybe takes it to $1.50. And then you do the difference is my time. Well, I don't think you've done yourself any justice, because now they're just going to say, so you paid $1.50, but you're still charging me $5.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to get out of the argument altogether. When you go to the Audi dealer and start negotiating a price, you don't go and say, I know you've only got $17,000 worth of materials in this thing, so I will give you $18,000 for it. Not the $45,000 you have listed for.
Yeah, I don't think that would work.
No, it won't work, because Audi says my price is $45,000. We can negotiate a little bit, but we're not going to negotiate down to 18. And the cost, what it costs in materials, is not our starting point of negotiation.
That is the truth.
Yeah.
I'd like to try and negotiate a car that way, but
well,
the sad thing about whenever you buy a car, at least for me, no matter how good of a deal I think I have, I know I walk out there and they're popping a bottle of champagne saying another sucker is born.
Yeah.
No matter what you think you got.
I kind of got that feeling too. And what what Pavel was saying here is, I think the easy thing to do is start to justify why you're not, to try and say, I'm not making that much money, not making as much money as you think, to justify your $3,000. And it would be nice if that worked, because the reality is you're not making $3,000. If you're charging $3,000, you're not making that per se, because you do have cost. But you also, right, for a lot of people who are doing this, it is their living. If we break down, I don't know what this lady does here in her day-to-day job, but if we broke down to, why are we paying you $50,000 a year to do this job? That job's really only worth maybe, $4.95 an hour, something like that. It's you got to put it in that kind of perspective. Is they're charging the $3,000 because you're getting a wedding photographer that is good. It's the history of that wedding photographer. It's not just the actual hard cost. It is the skill that photographer has built up to become the type of wedding photographer you want to hire.
Right.
And yeah, I understand you don't have to have a $15,000 wedding. Like he was saying in there, you can just go to Justice of the Peace and get a $150 wedding.
That's right.
All the other stuff is a luxury. And when you start getting into, I want luxury for my wedding, and a lot of people do, is you're going to have to pay for some of that luxury.
I couldn't disagree with you at all.
Yep. All right, so that's my last article I had for tonight, and we're getting close to the time. I stretched it out really good.
You did a good job there, Mike.
So now I can close with some of our finishers. And I posted this earlier. Where is this? To go out to the forums, jpeg2RAW.com/forums. Look, you can see that right. Although this is kind of covering it up. If I can get a little bit higher, that'd be good. Go out to jpeg2RAW.com/forums and start posting out there with me. If you don't want to go out, and post, you don't have to go out and post all the time. But there's also photos. From anytime we have a photo contest, an editing challenge, anytime we have a photo challenge, that's what we're doing now. Or we have photos that were from the show, like when we did a show with Don last week. All those times, I put them out in the forums, and you can go out there under gallery. I'll go here to gallery, because this is probably all new to Tim. He never goes out there. You can go out there to gallery, and I got some little featured images up here at the top. But then also down here is all the different galleries and albums that we created. That's one thing. You can go view those. Most of these you can view without even being a member. Then you come over to downloads. Go to challenges. Editing challenge. And here is all the raw files from all the different editing challenges that we've done. We're doing one right now that lasts till this Saturday. And you go here, you have the download where you can download the photo, the original raw image. You edit the photo and then upload it to our Facebook group, or there's a place on our website you can do it there too. And we have a little editing challenge every other week. Have you ever actually seen this process, Tim?
Briefly.
I'm not meaning to put you on the spot. I know, so don't take it that way. But it's a good place to go. You can go here. All the previous ones are there too. If you ever want to go, they're closed. All the ones, it has a date on when they close. So if you want to go back and do one, that's fine. Or you can join a new one. It'll be starting every 2 weeks. A new one starts. So you can go out there and do wait for it. If it's too late to do this one, you can go out there and do the next one. That is the editing challenge there in the forums. We would love to have you join and start posting. We've got now, Tim, what is it? I'll go down here. 131 members in that, and it's growing slowly. So join us in the forums. Then, as we had the photo contest in December, let me find this. Photo contest in December, where we gave away a $100 Amazon gift card. We gave away $50 to a Gina Perry who's over in England. We couldn't do that as Amazon gift card, so we had to do it another way. And then a $25 Amazon gift card to Doug here in the U.S. All of those things are made possible by people who are using our Amazon affiliate link. So if you're going to go to Amazon and buy anything, before you go, use our link by going jpeg2RAW.com/Amazon. And what would be really good is when you first go there, the first page that comes up after you do that, bookmark that, and then use it every time you go to Amazon. But as I mentioned, the first person took a $100 Amazon gift card instead of this, which I don't know if you can see it, Tim, because I don't know what camera you're seeing.
I see it, and I knew you're going to talk about before you even put it up.
Yeah, so I haven't got an idea of how I'm going to give it away. I have no use for it. But our Amazon money bought it, so we've got to find a way to give it away. I would say people who join our Facebook, our forums, but it's got people to join, but then they never post. So that doesn't have no long-term benefit. I'm still noodling on how we're going to give that away. But just remember to use that. We do have one other affiliate. We have another one with Bluehost, but I never really talk about that one. In addition to the Amazon one, we also have Topaz Labs. If you're going to buy any of Topaz Labs products, go over to jpeg2RAW.com/Topaz Labs, and then go and purchase what you're going to purchase. And we'll get a small credit. The best place to get the show, as I've had to drink little bit of water, the best place to get the show is by subscribing. And we are now on Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, TiVo, and Vimeo, and Podomatic. Yeah, we're out there too. So if there's a place where you want to get the show and we're not there, then let me know and I will try to get there. I've looked at Roku again. I found another. You can't get us through Roku by just subscribing to the YouTube channel, but I found another podcaster who has a channel on Roku, and I'm trying to talk to him about, is there a way we can get on Roku? But subscribing is the best way to get it. This month photo challenge is broken. Find that here. And
you better get it fixed quick.
Broken.
Ba-da-bum bump.
We only have one image submitted, but a lot of people wait till the end of the month to start submitting, and you would know I just lost it. Anyway, the photo challenge will last to the end of February. So if you have plenty of time to join that. What else, Tim? I think that's it.
Crickets.
Yeah, I think that's all I have. Keep an eye out in the forums on the calendar. There's a calendar called Podcast Schedule. As I get guests and book them, I will be putting them in there, and you'll see who's coming up. So until next week or next show, whenever that might be, keep it raw. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.